ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to this right now, asking yourself, what do the questions of the universe hold? Then we must sadly tell you, we got nothing yet! Awesome! Greetings and salutations, my fellow patrons from the North Country and beyond. Welcome once again to We Got Nothing. This will be the season 2 finale, and we are going to be going on a very deep hiatus for the time being, as we here on Life on Saturn Productions focus on our very many individual projects within, and as a fitting final guest for what has been such an interesting podcast season to cap off what had been quite an interesting year. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome your mother and mine, the lead matriarch of the North Country, one Miss Elizabeth Jost. How you doing, Mom?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. How's the drive over here?
Wasn't too bad.
It's getting colder out right now.
Yes, and I believe Monday night into Tuesday it is supposed to be like 30 below wind chill factor, so it's going to get very chilly.
Well, that's interesting because what is it? I think Monday is supposed to be... No. Tomorrow is supposed to be 32 degrees, and then it goes to -1 on Tuesday.
But then it pops back up, so kind of just the roller coaster ride we've all been riding.
Well, it would be better if the fact that we wouldn't have to deal with another 3 or 4 months of this, but here we are.
Here we are.
So, how's it been in your life so far?
Good. Busy, chaotic, but good.
How is your husband and how is my sister?
They're doing well.
Completely well?
Well, I mean, there's always a little crazy in there, but completely well.
I mean, we do put the fun in dysfunctional. So.
We absolutely do.
How's the job been treating you?
The job has been treating me well. Been busy. Lots of busyness in the human service field right now, and lots of people to just help and sit where they're at and just listen to their stories.
Now, I know you are definitely much less cynical than I am, so it's hard for me to puzzle, it's hard for me to comprehend, like, how it must feel to deal with people after a whole day of servicing humans. I know that will weigh on me after a while.
Yes. And that's why sometimes when I get home and it's a little chaotic, I get very irritated because I just want to kind of chill and just relax and just debrief in my own way from the days. So yeah, it can be a struggle.
Is that attempt ever successful?
Usually only if I nap. In my sleep, it's quiet.
So when you adult, napping is relaxed time?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
In the human service field, what do you usually experience on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I work, with a lot of families and a lot of adolescents who have many struggles, whether it be, poverty or mental health issues or substance abuse issues or chronic neglect and things like that. So you never know what you're walking into. You never know what emergency you might have to deal with that day. And it's kind of a go with the flow position. I like to plan and I need to have a plan. And so this is growing up. I know that I know it drove you nuts, drives everybody nuts around me and my family.
I will neither confirm nor deny.
But that was part of the reason why I think I needed to have a plan, was because, in my professional field, there's not a plan. You go in with a kind of a plan, but it doesn't always end up that way.
In this line of work, it is absolutely chaotic to the highest degree. So, for you personally, how do you deal with such a mentally and emotionally taxing environment and into these situations that would probably break another human being?
Based on my own personal beliefs, not my professional beliefs, but as far as how to deal with the stress and the anguish of seeing individuals and people in the places they're at, it is definitely tolling on your mind, your soul, and your heart. But it's just trying to offer that hand, or maybe that piece of advice, oftentimes unsolicited advice, to try to make their lives a little bit easier. And part of that is leaving the judgment at the door. Like, in this field, there's, there's no room for judgment. And there shouldn't be, because everybody has their story. Everybody has things they've gone through, and how people deal with that is different for each individual. So, it's just like in the education field or in every other field, we try to put everybody into sections or categories and what that looks like. But there are a lot of individuals who do not fit in the square box they are around, and that's where we have to adapt to try
Or pointy.
Or pointy, and that's where we have to adapt to try to help them, and just sometimes sitting where they're at and just listening to them. And sometimes they don't even have to say a word, just being there with them through some of the hardest moments of their lives.
Now, what I am hearing is that a lot of these situations where it's a matter of substance abuse, neglect, and all this, would this stem from? It almost sounds like a disease passed down from generation to generation. Would that be accurate in that assumption?
In most cases, yes, it's a generational issue, and like, you obviously are aware of my parents, and we get a lot of that same kind of feeling that sometimes Grandma and Papa would say, like, well, I survived it, look at me, I'm just fine. So that's how I'm going to continue to lead. And so.
And then he looks over to Grandma's like, you sure that's the line of reason you want to go with? Sure that's the best example you want to say?
Yes, and the thing is there's no perfect person, and there's no perfect family, and we're all just trying to figure it out in this world, and we need to be kind, we need to be compassionate, and we just need to help people where they're at when they want the help.
One of the biggest problems, I think, is people really, well, don't want to be vulnerable, and that's a mindset that's passed down from past generations. But also, that being the case, also, I think a lot of people nowadays just don't know how to be, or don't know how to be the right level of vulnerable with the people that you trust and the people that you just met. There's stuff like oversharing, there's being completely silent, and antisocial would be the best term of it. I know I've had my own struggles with that one.
And I know I've had my own struggles with oversharing. My oversharing, when I overshare, I do that to say, look, we're all human. We're all in a very similar boat, and we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And, it's just trying to be a better person today than you were yesterday. And it doesn't have to be huge changes, and it doesn't have to be taxing. It's just like being just a little better than you were the day before.
Now, in your line of work, I assume that you come across a lot of family situations where there is only one parent involved, period. And I bring this up because for a while there in my younger years, I would say at least the first 10 or so, you you live that every single day. So, and nowadays, especially after the COVID epidemic, we see a lot of, I've seen a lot of my friends have kids, newborns and whatnot, and some of those same people are dealing with the absolutely monumental challenge that is single parenthood. So, in your experience, what would you be your best advice to those to the my current generation about raising your children, especially during this hard time and seemingly by yourself?
You made the assumption that, families that I deal with are mostly single parent families. And I would have to say it's probably about 50%, maybe a little higher. Also, just because it's a single parent family doesn't mean that the other parent isn't involved. It could just be at a distance. So it's trying to work with parents on, you don't have to enjoy the other person's company, but if they're the parent of your child, the best thing you can do for your child and the most love you can do for your child is show them that their other parent is a decent person, and try not to be negative about that other person, because that parent is a piece of your child. I felt I was pretty good about that until you got older, when you were ready to hear some of the struggles that your own biological father struggled with. As far as single parenting right now, there are lots of supports out there, and making sure you're plugging into services and other supports in the community that might be able to help you, or your family members who are appropriate family members who are not toxic in your life but are helpful for you, and friends who friends who can help you out, and just trying to take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this is COVID has probably set most parents off the cliff and back a few times, just because of the times that schools were shut down, or when your child's quarantined, and so then you have to figure out, I have to go to work. What do I do with my child if my child's on quarantine? If I miss work, I'm going to end up losing my job. If I miss work, I'm not going to be able to pay the bills. Like, there's such a struggle, and I think that's where people are very, very private. But I think that's where you need to be able to reach out to people, and people you trust, and be like, I need some help here. Whether it's one mom taking a couple of kids when they have the day off, and monitoring how they can all come over to my house, and we're going to monitor the schooling, make sure the schooling gets done. Just trying to build those supports in your life.
No, when in doubt, give them a tablet.
Well, because they have to do most of their schooling on tablets. So you sit them around the table, and you have one trusting adult, take the kids, and do it that way, and then maybe the following day it can be somebody else if that other person has to work. It's just we're all trying to figure it out, and it's tough.
Nowadays, homeschooling doesn't sound too bad nowadays. In fact, probably within the next 2 or 3 years, give or take, especially with the still current COVID guidelines, and even if they do wane, we're probably going to see an increase in people homeschooling kids.
We probably will, because we're burning all ends here. Like we're tired too. Like and we love our kids, but boy, sometimes you just need a break.
I'll give you that.
Yep.
Speak a mental health day, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
On that note and transition, now in your experience, and I'm not necessarily talking about work here. Also, I'm talking about our family and friends in general. How have you noticed that this whole situation has affected everyone in terms of their mental health? And do you have any advice or home remedies to help out with that?
Even like when we look at our home situation, um, I have to say that your sister, when we went remote, did absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, because that was a vacation for her.
It was in that, because she struggles with some anxiety, she didn't have to get all anxious about going to school. And yet her grades like flourish. She's still doing very well, but
Yeah, but now
she
she doesn't just talk to live people, she talks to the dead as well.
well, I don't think she's talking to them. She just thinks they're around. It's different. She hasn't started talking to them yet.
Okay, so
But
then that's definitely something to monitor in the future.
um it definitely, but I do see children where it has definitely taken a toll on their mental health, in that they need that socialization. They crave that socialization, and I don't think we all, I think we all do. I think we all crave that
It,
socialization, and doing it over a computer is not that human contact.
it's not the same thing.
It's
Like
not.
us being humans, we crave social interaction because that's how we really communicate our souls. You know that we say these things, do these things, and it's usually a grand gesture to show that we want to be loved, our humanity is real, and that we've struggled and earned the right for it to be recognized, but it's not always the case, you know.
Correct.
One of the things that has aggravated me especially is just that for some people who are struggling and just can't and don't have the actual means to like go see a therapist, like don't have any insurance and can't even afford any, what would you say would be a good way to would be a good alternative until those options are presented to them?
You kind of stumped me there. So I feel,
I have that talent for
yeah,
a lot of
like
things.
I think there are probably, and I'm not 100% sure. So these are all questionable suggestions. I believe there are like some appropriate chat groups online where you can talk with people who are struggling with the same things you're struggling with, and possibly get um, some decent coping skills or things that have helped other people, and try out those things. I think there are groups out there that around the area, like, so if you've like lost a loved one, like they have groups at, I believe it's the hospital, I think they have one, or somewhere around here, where people who have lost a loved one can go and talk to other people who have lost a loved one. Um, and then there is NAMI in the community, and I am not 100% sure that you need to have insurance for NAMI. I think you can at least go talk to them and find out. Um, Also, there is the marketplace that you can go to try to get insurance. But again, funding financially, depending on where you fall in the financial realm, um, depends on whether you qualify for those services. And then if you don't, there's also insurance through the Chamber of Commerce, that you can call and get quotes and see where you would fall in that. Insurance is a big, huge issue for many, many people. And I don't think until you're in the position of where you want either medical or mental health or substance abuse help, that you realize how important insurance is.
Really, it's much easier during the summertime because you actually want to go outside of your house and, there's other options like hiking, kayaking, going to the beach and whatnot. I mean, there are people who make the most out of winter, like snowmobiling, the Whiteface and all the ski lodges and whatnot. And there's a couple in Vermont there too. But for others that really struggle in the winter, it's really extremely difficult, especially when the temperature for like 5 months out of the year can wane from 20 to negative 20. It gets to a point where there's thoughts of hopelessness that creep in. That's the real danger of it.
Correct. And it's there are some people who just crave winter. I am not one of those people.
I don't mind the snow. I don't like the cold.
Yeah. I like sun. I like beach. I like ocean.
Well, the summers ain't nothing to brag about either. I mean, yes, heat, but heat. Heat. Oh my god. Well, how many other places get like Alaskan winters and Floridian summers? Like,
But getting outside and enjoying, especially during the nicer days of the year, and then just enjoy, because we live in an absolutely beautiful area. The landscape, the mountains. We have all 4 seasons, even though 6 months of it sometimes is winter. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to live, and until like you go someplace else, you don't realize how beautiful it is.
and we also have a nice community here.
We do.
Now, that also brings me back to the child portion aspect of the earlier discussion. Are there any struggles that you have found when raising a kid that is of a different race?
Yes. So part of the struggle that I found was I am not of a different race. So I don't feel that I could always understand what you were going through, or the bullying or the name calling. And I think as a nation, I don't think we have always understood what other races go through until
you see people flipping over cars and burning shit on TV.
Correct. Which I do feel is an extreme. I think that's going a little too far, but I also have never ever felt that due to my white privilege I was put down. So that can be just rage.
And it's funny because rage is usually it's not just depression turned inward, it's also someone crying out for their humanity to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
When all you see on a regular basis is people who try to silence it. And usually there's a boiling point, but that's how that kind of rage manifests. It's not one inciting incident. It's multiple and then a boiling point.
Mm-hmm. And I have to be honest, I am not totally educated on it all. And I think that is something I need to better educate myself on. I do have...
We all do.
Yeah, and I do have friends. I have really good friends of different races. Until you hear a story of them being pulled over, or them being checked out by people's eyes because of their race in the mall, or just different things that impact, and it's like you don't realize that happens. And I am not for 1 minute blaming the police either. I feel that we all have to be educated because the police have a really, really difficult job. We all have a really difficult job. Every one of us in society has a difficult job. And that is not to judge. And that is to be kind. We're not all good at it. But we all have to do better.
That transitions into the more deeper parts of these next topics. So, 2021, we can agree that it was shittier than the year prior. And that was because it dealt out death in spades for us. God damn. Their deaths were not COVID related. Another member of our families was.
Correct.
So, while you're seeing people, their families being fractured by this current disease right now, do you have any sort of inkling of advice, or I don't know, what would you say to them?
To families that are losing members due to COVID,
Losing members, period.
members, period.
But yeah,
across
COVID
the
is
board.
definitely
You know,
a main factor.
again, this is my personal opinion. I do believe in the vaccinations. I know everybody is not necessarily on board with that. I also realize that vaccinations don't stop you from getting COVID, even though originally that's kind of what it was promoted for. It doesn't stop you from spreading COVID, but it can help in how severely you get it, and possibly so you don't have to be hospitalized from it.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing as birth control, but apply it to COVID and attaining disease. If someone's going to have unprotected sex and whatnot, and they're not on the pill, their likelihood of getting pregnant is going to be astronomically more in favor of that versus if they have some sort of birth control medication. Now apply that statement to COVID and the vaccines, or even wearing a mask. It's not a 100% guarantee, but the large amount of risk that goes with it immediately gets cut down, gets
Correct.
disintegrated.
Correct. And as far as dealing with loss, I don't know that I really have advice for that, because I think we all deal with it differently. I think crying is okay. A lot of crying, because you water your roots. It's like a tree, you're watering your roots to be stronger. And you have to figure out what works for you and what makes you feel better, and to understand that grief is a roller coaster ride, and there are some moments you're going to be okay, and some moments you're going to feel like you're drowning, and you just have to ride with it. And you miss people. You miss the people you've lost. Yep.
Yeah, it gets really painful at times, because what is it? And that it speaks a lot towards I can't really say cruelty of it, but how it's an actual part of the machine, because you have like 3 deaths all within the span of like a handful of months, and you still got to go back to work. You still got to provide for a family. You still got to eat. You still got to shit. You still got to have a roof over your head, and all the while parts of your existence, and hell, maybe even your whole world, just died. Like, I don't know how you possibly come back from that.
Well, I don't know that your world dies, but your world definitely stops. And the world around you continues on. I know, especially with, we brought grandma home November 1st on your birthday, on hospice care, and she passed away November 11th. So, you know, we had that amount of time that myself and Eric, and then my three siblings, Bill, Sari, and Chuck, and and Eli.
And Eli, yes.
Our adopted sibling, were just doing shifts of making sure her every minute was cared for, and that we were providing her the best care we could. Now, I will honestly tell you, there are times you forget to eat, there are times you forget to sleep, there are a whole bunch of times you forget to shower. And
glad I didn't deal with any of those problems.
Yep, and so there were times like you were like, what is that? Somebody needs to shower. But then after Grandma passed, I took exactly a week off. I went back to work that following Thursday. And after Grandma passed, I remember having all these plans of things I was going to do at the house.
Mm.
And yet, I could not get out of the chair. I could not really function. I was just so stuck in my head. Again, the not showering piece. And God bless your father, because he did not tell me I stunk, and he should have. So I knew I had to go back to work, because I got people at work that are going to be like, Liz, you stink, you need to shower. But I also needed that routine back in my life. And I needed that normalcy of getting up, going to work, doing things. And that's what I had to do to get back on track.
Do you find it kind of funny that that during that whole period with Grandma, that we wish that her suffering was brief and that she could peacefully pass, and the fact that she died on 11/11?
Well, there's a couple things I have to say about that. That, number one, yes, we had hospice in there, and families who bring home their loved one to die, bless you. It was one of the hardest days of my life, but yeah, I would not change it for anything. And hospice is an amazing program and so supportive. But it is hard. It is hard watching somebody pass. But there was also a lot of conversations that we were able to have that, I will truly always treasure. And then I forget what your question was.
Doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
I'm sorry. But it's
squirrel.
Yeah, it's hard stuff. Oh, I know what I was going to say about it too. So, Papa's birthday is July 5th.
Okay.
So, on July 4th, when there was always like fireworks and everything, he was always like, look, everybody's celebrating my birthday. So,
classic Gramps.
Grandma said, she never drank beer, so she didn't say hold my beer, but she said hold my coffee. Watch this, I'm going to die on 11/11. So now, when I died, it's like a national holiday.
Well, the truth of the matter is, because Gramps was always had to talk his head off. More than likely, he was up there. He was chatting it with the boys, or chatting it with his father. And then someone was like, hey, Willis, you forget something? It's like, oh, no.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But I have to tell you, he would tell very similar stories over and over and over and over again. And I found myself, I think it was Wednesday, And I just found myself sobbing because I miss those stories. I've heard them. I could tell every single one of them, but I miss him, and but that's okay. We'll all meet again, hopefully, and he'll have like bought in 32 million cows by the time we get up there.
In the meantime, we're stuck with 32 million cow books.
That's true. Anybody want cow books?
Yeah, does anyone want to buy cow books from what are the ages on them?
Oh my goodness. I think they go back to like 1965.
Jesus Christ.
You don't even have to buy them. Like, we will give.
Yeah. No,
No buy.
we will
give.
full on give them to
Just
you.
somebody who enjoys cow books.
Hell, we could probably have a bonfire with them.
No, we can't burn them. We promise.
Uncle Pete wanted to burn
I
them.
We'll give them to somebody who appreciates them.
Which in this community of Clinton County, there probably might be a few.
There might, yes. Yes.
And you gotta believe, you think Danielle's annoying them up there?
No, I think she is partying. I think she is having fun. I think, she finally found her niche of life of helping people. And I think she's definitely up there doing her thing of helping others and being loud, that's just her. That was part of her magic, part of her spark.
She always was the loudest. She was the proudest.
She was. And she, her own, I don't know that everybody knows her own story. So she also had, things that she dealt with. And she was just becoming her person. She was becoming who she is.
She gave me, before she died, she gave me a good birthday lunch. That was pretty nice of her.
Yeah. And she was really good about trying to be there to talk with you. And
meanwhile, we're stuck here in the living, and day by day, it seems like there's always a new challenge.
When you stop having challenges, you stop living. So...
Well, tell that to Betty White. Her challenge was she needed to make 3 digits. Too soon?
No, that wasn't her challenge. So she did this whole magazine, and this whole show was based on her being 100, correct? Because she was turning 100.
Mm-hmm.
And look what she did. Haha, got you, 99. Peace out.
I was thinking about it, honestly. You gotta believe somebody upstairs had some kind of sense of humor.
And she was always a comedian, and she was a kind, sweet soul, and she loved animals, and she was funny, and all the Golden Girls are together. So
they are.
But you did say something that we are stuck here with the living a little bit ago, and I just want to get back to that real quick, that it doesn't always feel like it, but it is an honor to be alive.
Well, yeah, because we're still writing our own story. Each year is almost like a different chapter in that book that is our own lives.
Yeah.
I think where we get stuck is that we feel like we want somebody to tell our story one day, so we think we have to live these grandiose moments, and we need to have it perfect. We need to have like a perfect storybook that is our existence, when the storybook is all about your perspective, and the only way to cherish it, acknowledge it, and appreciate it is to just live it. And I think we end up being so focused on being that special story that someone reads versus just enjoying the hero's journey from beginning to end as we ourselves have witnessed it.
Mm-hmm. And you always have to remember. Oh, sorry. Remember that you are.
I remember.
That you are that special person to someone. And like when I talk about being kind and helping out people, you don't have to take $100 out of your bank account and get groceries for somebody. You don't have to like do these grandiose things. You can go to a grocery store and see a shorter person struggling for a jar on the top shelf, and you can reach it and you can say, "Can I get that for you?" And they say yes. It's things.
See,
It's just being kind.
See, this is where our philosophies will kind of clash. You see, you would take it off the shelf and hand it to them. I would take it off the shelf and be like, "Okay, get it. Come on, you can reach it. Come on, come on." Didn't get it.
But it's and it's just being nice to that person behind you. Like nobody knows what each other is going through. You know,
I think part of that again goes back to the philosophy of the passed on philosophy from generations about being vulnerable. Applying that to this, it's just that, well, you get to the thought process of nobody cares about like what I'm feeling, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking. So why should I give my time, my energy to that person or that group of people or humanity in general and just purely focus on me? And there is a balancing act there. There is a balancing act for focusing on yourself because no one else is going to love you like you do. No one else. We were born into the world alone. We kind of die alone.
oh, I don't like that philosophy at all. So when you were born into this world, you are not alone. And when you die, I hope you're not alone. So I have a big thing about people being alone when they die. It's huge. It's a big thing for me.
Well,
But
when I say alone is I mean no one else experience has that direct experience but you.
right, right. And nobody has the direct experience every single day of your life. Nobody has that direct. Nobody understands. But why you said what nobody why do stuff for like other people or humanity because they don't care about your feelings, and I don't think that's true. I think we all care, but sometimes our own stuff is bogging us down, and I think sometimes when you do that kind thing or just being nice to the person behind you because they could be suicidal, and then you like, I hope you have a good day, and that could change their whole perspective on things. You just saved a life. I was just having this conversation with Eric today because Eric always says to me, you want to save the world. And I said to him, I don't want to save the world, but helping one person saves that person in their world. I said, I know I can't save the world, but I could help that one person who can make their world different and change their world. And so sometimes that person does something kind or helps out another person, and that changes their world. And before you know it, we're changing the world. It's one by one, it's piece by piece. And are there going to be people who take advantage of that? Yeah. But there's also people who are going to appreciate it. And there's also people who are never going to forget you for the way you made them feel good at that moment. And that's, to me, what life is about.
It's almost like a butterfly effect, or if you will, a single drop falling into a pond or some body of water. There's a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm. I just got this sign for one of my coworkers that I put on her wall, and it says, "Be the change you want to see in the world."
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. And that's true. And by no means, like, I am in no way, shape, or form a saint. And I can be one of the most judgiest people. I'm working on it, though. I'm working on it. I can say judgy things or hurtful things. And that's another aspect is the things that come out of your mouth, you can't change those words once they come out. I'm not good at holding them back, but I'm working on it. And I don't want to judge others.
Well, Yes and no. It's only really been in the past like 5 years that I've really seen more of your savage side. To be fair, like every person I know that knows you is like, yeah, she's a little bit weird. She's a little bit kooky, zany, and whatnot. But
Quirky. I like the term quirky.
well, I didn't invent the other words that I just said. I'm just saying what their definition is, and you fit them. But they say that you are the absolute most kindest human being that you can possibly ever meet, and but to that also same extent, I have heard some absolutely jaw-dropping jokes and judgments on other people come out of your mouth where where I'm just like, okay, I understand now where I get my sharp tongue from.
And I'm working on it. I
Well,
have
that's not
to.
necessarily a bad thing.
It's not always a right thing either, and it's because of some other, I think you're going to agree with this. And I just had a conversation with Sarah today about this. Not you, but about
It's
something
not
else.
about me, Mom. I mean,
No, but
it's not like this is my podcast.
oh, this conversation about strong emotions. And I was talking to Sarah, and she was just sharing with me this child that she knows that has a hard time with strong emotions. And like, so when they're mad, they're like, I'm gonna fucking break this. And they're like 6 or 7. And it got me to thinking that you struggle with strong emotions, but so do I. And I think that's where the sharp tongue comes out. It's because I'm feeling something inside that I don't like feeling, and then I will say something. And so I'm like, you know what? I struggle with strong emotions.
It's a defense mechanism,
Yeah.
really. Like, well, actually, it's almost like a purging mechanism. Like, you
Yeah.
have so much vitriol or deep despair in you that you have to find a way that gets it out. There are multiple ways, healthy ways you can do it. Usually, savage burns, insults, and funny but inappropriate jokes are not one of them, depending what line of work you're in.
Yes. So it's like, it's something I have to work on. It's something, but it obviously will.
Join the club.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of my goals, hopefully, over the next couple of years. I'm not just going to give myself a goal for 2022 because there's only 365 days, and that's a lot of undoing.
Well, even though 2021 was garbage a good majority of the time, you can't define every year based off if it's gonna good and bad. You can't even do that every day. Like what I've been saying as of late, the days that I live where I both laugh and cry, those are the most perfect days
Absolutely.
because that is the human experience. That's the perfect human experience. Laughing, crying, joy, despair, passion, anger, and after a while, maybe a little bit of boredom after all that to calm you down. That's what it is.
But I have to say, too, the death of your grandparents, the death of, my parents, as it was a horrible loss. It was a hard time, but oh my goodness, they're together. And that's
Yes.
all they ever wanted. And dad's was fast, totally unprepared. Once mom got her diagnosis, I understood why dad went, because my dad would have never been able to live through that. He would have been devastated. He would have, like, that would have been so emotionally and mentally torturing to him. That is why he went first. And then mom was like, "Yeah, I'm coming for you, honey." And she went. And so the fact that they're together, and the fact that, mom's hardest thing was leaving her kids and leaving you. Like, that's all she worried about. And we're like, no, we got each other. And we continue to work on that, and we continue to care for each other. And it's just, I'm happy they're together, and they'll forever be around us. And we will forever say inappropriate Willis and Helen comments and laugh. And they were some of the funnest, craziest, loving people I know.
And we get all of those same qualities and from them, only magnified. And on a, what is it? On a silver lining note, eventually Abs is going to be able to talk to them, even even in the beyond. So if we ever need any messages or advice, that's who we go to.
She's comfortable where she's at, and that's what matters. It's owning yourself. If 2021 has taught me anything, what it taught me was love, laughter, and don't take things for granted, and just breathe. It's all okay. We're all okay.
Well, all I can say is when it comes to the human experience in all its despair, all its joy, all all that it provides, we got nothing. For those of you who would like to follow any art Life on Saturn has in the future, please follow Life on Saturn Productions on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. And if you would like to see what I personally provide in terms of art content, please follow me at Catalyst Jost on Instagram. Thank you for being the cap off to what has been quite an interesting project endeavor up until this point.
It's been an honor.
And with that being said, folks, please, in these darkest of times, find the light, stick with it, keep your vibes dope, keep your zen flowing, and as always, peace.